Hi everybody, it's Diana with Stamping with Di, and this week's Teach Me Tuesdays, episode 207, and I'm going to be doing some no-line watercolor with the Stippled Roses stamp set. I've used it a couple times recently, and I wanted to play around with it and see how I could do with the no-line watercoloring, so we'll see how it goes. It is easier said than done, that's for sure. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Diana, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm in Santan Valley, Arizona. So if you are new, make sure you say hi. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss when I do my videos. I will be watching with you live during the premiere, and I'm in the chat room off to the side. So if you have any questions or comments, just make sure you put them in there. If you are watching the replay, then just leave a comment below, and then YouTube will tell me, you know, that you've left one, and I can reach out to you. So yeah, I'm excited to do this. I have done the no-line watercoloring before. It's probably been a couple years, maybe, with a different stamp set. But when I stamped this one up the other day, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to give it a try. And so like I said, practice makes perfect. And watercoloring does not have to be perfect. And it is a rose, right? And nature is not perfect. So if you haven't tried this, just give it a shot and let me know what you think. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera, close your eyes just for a minute while I get my camera adjusted. So I am using the Stippled Roses, and I'm just going to use the big rose, and we're just going to have some fun with that today. I'm using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is in the main catalog, and it doesn't have, and I have never done this, but to me the package that it comes in almost feels like the watercolor paper. So I keep wanting to actually try to stamp on that instead of just throwing it away. All right, it's a little bit of a different color. All right, so I have stamped a couple ahead of time. Now what I did was I stamped them with the Smoky Slate Classic Pad, and because it's no-line watercoloring, but you want to see what you're doing, right? I took art in school, but I'm not an artist by no means, but I do love to color. And no-line watercoloring kind of makes you feel like an artist because you're basically using the stamp and then you are just painting over it, but using it as a guide. So I'm going to use some of the colors I used yesterday and then some new ones. So I'm going to scoot myself down just a little bit there. All right, so I have, I'm using the big ink pads. Now, if you have a paint palette, you could, you know, put the colors in there, but I'm just going to leave it in the ink pad so I'm not wasting the ink. Plus, it's easier for me to remember what color I'm using, and it just kind of keeps it contained. I'm just going to put a little block under here just to keep that kind of from moving around. So this is Balmy Blue, just like I used yesterday, and I am going to so here, let me show you the card I did yesterday so we can see the difference. So this was just regular watercoloring. So I'm going to kind of put that same blue around the outside, but I'm not going all the way around, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, I'm also keeping the stamp close by so I can see it, because as we get coloring on it, we will kind of lose the shape and the details, and that will kind of remind me, oh, this is a leaf, or this is, you know, a flower. But when you're doing this, you can kind of be your own artist. If you want this flower to be longer, or you want to put another leaf, you can, right? Because you are just using this as a guide. So I'm going to squeeze, and I'm going to use a lot more water today than I did yesterday. So I'm just getting some color in there, and I'm just going to test it on the side because I'm going to use this somewhere else so we won't see these little marks. All right, so I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to lightly put some of that balmy. And like I said, I want it fairly wet and fluid. And I'm just kind of putting it in a few areas. And I'm not being perfect, right? I'm just kind of plopping it around. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to really ink this up. And I'm going to splatter in there. Because I want some big splotchiness going on. And we'll come back and add more splotchies at the end. So we're just kind of making it kind of messy. All right, so we've just kind of got, you know, this chaotic, you know, mess there. All right. Now, I'm going to clean this off. And I'll probably have to go and fill those more often. All right, so let's get started with our leaves. So just like we did yesterday, I did a little bit of pecan pie. Now I'm going to put the pecan pie in first today. And I'm going to grab the smaller of the brush, and then it has the water in it. I also have a smaller one that has no water, so I can use it as a dry brush. All right, so just like before, instead of wasting all my water, squeezing it, I have a little bit of water in one of these little things, and I'm just going to drop a little bit of water there just to really get it kind of diluted. I want to keep some that's not diluted, so if I can and I need a little bit of more stronger, I can go and grab it over there. All right, so let's see how it's fairly dark. So I'm going to put a little bit more water. And I might have to wipe these out before I put them away because I'm making more of a watery mess with them. But they are water-based, so this, you know, over time will kind of like soak into the pad or whatever. But I just very carefully close the lid on top of there, and then before I put them away, you know, if it's still yucky, I'll just wipe it out with a paper towel. All right, so let's put a little bit of this, whatchamacallit, pecan pie. And I'm not putting a lot. I'm just putting a little bit here and there. Just a tiny little bit. So yesterday, you know, I would color the whole thing in, right? Like when I was doing the flowers and the leaves. Well, this is a little bit different. And you don't want to do that because if you do, you will totally get rid of your lines. And we still want to be able to see what we're doing, right? So if you, and I'll show you why you don't want to do that. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit. I'm not going to put tons. All right, so clean that off because we can always add more. So see, I'm just closing this like that. So this is what I mean. So yesterday I just kind of filled up the whole flower, but since we had lines, it didn't matter so much because you could still see the lines underneath the ink. But this is different. If I do that and I just go blue, you know, it totally washes away that ink. And then you have to kind of, well, where was this, whatever. So, you know, not that you can't. I mean, if you want to, you can, but it's just going to give you a different look. All right, so let's see here. So now let's do our leaves. So I want Old Olive, just like I did yesterday. And I want Mossy Meadow as well. So I have ink pads. So this is takes up more space. Like I said, you can use a paint palette, but I just have them on my desk here. And if I have to move my camera up, I will, but I want to be close enough so you can actually see what I'm doing. So I have, that's my wet one. All right, so I'm going to use the smaller of the brush because the leaves are a little smaller. So I have my Old Olive and I'm just squirting a little bit of water in there. All right, so I'm going to pick up my Old Olive And we're just going to come over and we're going to paint in our leaves. But even though it's no line, we're kind of painting, right? We are like painting our roses. So now we are the artist. So I'm just kind of going around the edges there, around where my leaf is. And this is the old olive. And just putting kind of a light coat. And then if you want to get a little bit of the mossy, you can put a little mossy, get a little bit darker. And while this is still wet, so this is different too, right? If you want it to have a little bit of movement, if this is still wet, that mossy metal will move around within that old olive because it's wet. So you can see how it's pulling that mossy in as well. All right, so let's go back to the old olive. So I'm just leaving some white spaces. So this is just, again, old olive. And we'll go around the leaf there. And if we need more water, we can. So I like doing this because we can be our own artist. So if you want to put like a bigger flower or whatever, you can. Maybe you want, a branch coming out. You could, totally draw a branch coming out of there. All right. So just adding a little green there. But see how I'm kind of going around that leaf. Because as we color, we want to make sure we know that, oh, that's a leaf. Okay, again, going around. So it takes it a little longer to dry because I have it quite wet compared to yesterday. And add a little bit more darker old. So see how it pulled that into there because it was still wet? Because it will be darker in that crack, right where the flowers overhanging there. So watercoloring is just, it is just like, would you call that free form? I'm the worst person for like knowing words. I'm going to put a little bit more water in my old olive. I kind of call watercoloring free form. I have to look it up because that might be the totally wrong word. But anyway, so we're going to go over here and we're just basically painting in. And I might have made my pecan a little bit too dark, but we're going to add some mossy and it's fairly dark. So we're just going to do our leaves here. All right, so that's my first coat of leaves. And let's give them a little bit more color there. And I'm going to get some more mossy. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of the mossy, and I'm just getting it on the very tip of that brush. And this is not diluted a lot, this here. So that we're able to go and almost like paint in more of the details. I'm just getting the very, very tip. Now you can also use the, and I have them out, you can also use if you want it to be even more, use your Stampin' Right marker, because then you're able to really, really have more control over, you know, that fine line. But I'm just, like I said, I'm using the smaller of the brush, and I'm really just getting that tip. So I'm just putting a little bit. So it takes, you know, a little bit of time. But if I was to paint this, you know, from scratch, oh my gosh, it would take even longer. All right, so again, I'm just putting a little bit of that mossy in there, and that's still a little wet, so it pulled that into the paint. All right, so that looks good. All right, so I'm just going to wet that, clean that off. All right, now I do want to put a little bit more color, so we can add more mossy if we need to. So I'm just going to switch these two. Hold on a second. So now I have my old olive, so you can see how messy that is. You can also add, we could use parakeet. Parakeet would be a pretty little bright green. We could, let me try parakeet. Hang on a minute. Let's see if I can add some parakeet, because we're just having fun. All right, so this is some parakeet. So again, make it pretty wet. Put a little thing here. Ooh, so that's kind of cool. So I'm going to add a little bit of parakeet on the ends of my leaves. So what do you think about that? That's like a nice bright kind of green. That's pretty cool. I might have to do one where I use parakeet. But I also wanted to stick with colors I used yesterday, so you could kind of compare too, right? All right, so I'm going to rub there a little bit and blend out some of those lines. So just like we do with the blends, I'm just rubbing that just to soften some of the harsh lines there. But I do like that bright green in there. Okay, so I'm going to leave some. I don't worry too much if there's some white areas. All right, so let me close these. We can go back to them after. So what do you think so far? Not too bad. All right, I just wipe my nose here. All right, so now I did change the colors of the flower from yesterday. And I'm going to go fresh freesia. So I have my fresh freesia and Highland. So I have fresh freesia and Highland, and then I have gorgeous grape that I will go and add at the end. All right. So the flower is a little bigger, so I'm going to use my bigger of the brush. So I'm just squeezing over here to clean it. All right. I'm going to put a little bit of water in my freesia and a little bit in my Highland. So hopefully you can see them there. Alrighty. Now, when we're doing the flowers, remember I said you don't want to do like yesterday where I just kind of went boo and I did the whole flower, because this is a look you'll get. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, because actually I kind of like the look of this one. This one I never finished, but I kind of like the look of that one. When you do it that way, it's more, what do you call that? I mean, you know it's a rose, but it doesn't have all the detail. So I'm sure there's a name for it. Okay, let's see here. So we're going to take our fresh freesia, and it's pretty watered down. Let's see. So that looks good. So, but what I want to do is I'm going to take my fresh freesia and I'm going to kind of paint in here in the rose so I can still see my lines. And I'm going to try to not let these touch, because if they touch, they're wet, right? They'll just kind of pool together. So basically, I just want to paint my rose shape. And then I can go in later and add more details. So I'm just going around. I'm just kind of leaving a little bit of line in between. Now, if you were really watercoloring like from scratch, you might not do it this way. But since I have my flower already on here, this is how I'm doing it. Right. So you can see it's filling that flower in, but you can still see the flower form, you know, underneath there. So you're not going to be confused when you come back to color it in more. All right, so I need to put a little bit more water because you use quite a bit up. That's why I said, like, a lot of times I don't have to wipe it out because I end up using it, you know, while I'm painting. All right, so again, I'm just diluting that, pulling that into the water. And then we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to use this flower and I'm going to go in here and get that shape of that flower. And some color. But you can see, so see what I mean? You can still see those, the gray in there. All right. Now, as you're coloring, be careful because this is wet. So that's why I have this here, because sometimes I'll like lay, look at right here. I lay my hand in it and then you go, oh my gosh. So that's what's kind of nice about putting these splatters, because if you boo-boo, you can clean it up. So it's good to kind of have like a piece of, this is just a piece of cardstock, just to rest your hand on in case it is dirty. So I'm just doing the same thing. I'm going around. I really like that lighter, that parakeet in there in those leaves. All right. So there's our flowers. There's kind of our first coat. We put a little bit here. All right. So then I'm going to take a little bit of fresh freesia, but this time I'm going to get it a little bit darker. Let me move this down. So you can see I'm getting this over here where it's a little bit darker. And we're going to add a little bit of darker fresh freesia in there. Cover up some of those drawing lines. So we're kind of painting, right? Because now we're like painting the flower in. So I'm grabbing a little bit of more darker. And that's why I love doing it with nature, because flowers are so forgiving. So I'm just grabbing some of that up. And we're just adding it here and there. Bring this over. Because I don't mind if, when we're done, if I still see some of that smoky slate. That will not bother me if I can, because it's like you drew it, right? You drew your flower and then you painted it. All right, I'm going to put that. So this is just adding more potent fresh freesia. Here and there. Okay. But see how forgiving it is. So again, this is just the fresh freesia, but I'm having it be a little bit darker. And I'm just kind of going over the gray so we can kind of see that flower taking shape. Okay. So like I said, I don't mind that there's a little bit of white there. Do I need to add any more? Maybe a little bit down here. And then I'm going to go to the highland. All right, so now I'm going to go to the highland. So I'm going to just clean that a little bit. And this is the bigger one. All right, so where's my one with the wet? Okay, so I'm going to take my smaller one. And I'm going to go into the highland. And we're going to add some highland here and there. So it's just going to add a different color. And what's really cool is if you have the fresh freesia be like a little wet. So let me show you. I'll put a little fresh freesia right here. So I'm going to put a little fresh freesia. So that's wet right there. Then I'm going to quickly come over here with some of my highland. And I'm going to touch on there. And it's going to pull that highland in there and mix those two colors, because it was wet on there. So you've got a little bit of, you know, a different color there. All right, so I'm just going to keep going back and forth in these two pads. And I'm going to finish it, because see, I like how it's looking. I need a little bit of dark. Because we have that light. So we're going to have, you know, we have some dark as the leaves go over top of the other ones. We have to remember that. Where there's some highlights and lowlights. So see? You just keep adding. Okay. Because sometimes I'll go, oh, that was just one too many. All right. So I'm kind of liking, so I'm going to hold it away from myself so I can see. See if I like that. I might add a little more freesia, just kind of loosely. So I'm just kind of loosely adding that. All right. Close, close. Now I'm going to bring my gorgeous grape over. And I'm going to add some gorgeous. Look how pretty this is. Look how pretty that cleaning sponge is. With all those colors. All right. So I'm going to grab a little bit of gorgeous grape. And again, it's the very tip. And I'm going to put a little gorgeous grape. And I want this to be almost like the drawing of the flower. So that's why you want to kind of keep that one around you so you can see where, you know, the center is. But you don't have to make it identical because, you know, you were out in your garden and this was one that was in your garden and you just drew it, right? All right. So I'm not going to add too much more. Because I kind of like how it's going there. All right. Okay. So now, let me close that. Okay. So, I like the look of that, I do believe. I might come over here and soften some of my leaves. Hang on a minute. I'm going to take, you're going to go, good grief, Diana, get this done already. All right, so I am going to take a little more parakeet and then just soften some of these leaves a little bit. Okay, that's good. I don't want to mess with it too much because I'm just going to do something and do one step too far and then it's like, okay, start over. All right, so I do like the look of this. All right, so I have these markers here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these markers, and I have my pecan pie. So I'm just going to take my pecan pie and I'm going to use the smaller of the tip. Remember, we changed our markers this year. So this is a Stampin' Right. So this is the brush side. And then this is the writing side. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's still a nice fine. So I'm just going to take a little pecan, not a whole lot. And I'm just going to put a little bit here and there. And this just is going to define some of these lines a little bit. So see, I'm just kind of going in the leaf. All right, not tons. And I'm going to do the same thing. This is the fresh freesia. So just take your fresh freesia and let's put a little bit around here so we can kind of emphasize some of these lines. And these will also hide a little bit of those gray lines that I don't totally not mind. I mean, I'm fine with it. All right, not tons. Because I don't want it to be too much color. It is watercoloring, so you kind of want it to be to the imagination. Then we have, this is Gorgeous Grape. So same thing. We're going to put a little Gorgeous Grape just here and there. Not a lot. So see, it's just adding a little bit of dark in there. Then this is the Smoky Slate. So this is the same color that I stamped the painting originally. So if you want any, you know, kind of shadows or whatever, you can go back and, you know, add a little bit of Smoky Slate as well. But I'm kind of liking it. Let's get our gel pen. Gotta have a gel pen. All right, so we're going to take our white gel pen. I know we do not sell a white gel pen. I dropped it on the floor. But you can get them on Amazon. And when I do my events, everybody gets a gel pen. And speaking of events, my spring social stuff is on the way. So I'm so excited. People will be getting those. All right. So I'm just going to put a little white gel pen here and there. And what I like to do is I like to put it near my dark, because that makes that dark stand out even more. So I'm just going around. And this is just kind of emphasizing that those leaves. Okay. I think I'm liking that. All right. Now I do want to, where's my Balmy? I want to put some more splatters, because I love the look of the splatters on there. What do you think? All right, so I'm going to get my Balmy, get some water in there, get my big brush, make sure it's clean. It's got green on it, but you could still splatter green. You know, you could splatter every single color that you used on there. That would be cool. All right, so I'm just going to get some more of my blue, my Balmy blue. Do some splatters. I want to soften this one a little bit, so it kind of comes in there. But see, does it look like you dropped that blue? Put some dots here and there. But I think I like it. All right. All right, so let me show you what I did earlier. And then when I was doing this one, I dropped the ink pad, or the stamp into it. So here's what I did earlier. So you can see they all will not look the same. So this one I put darker, you know, I put some darker colors. And see what I did? This is why you want to clean your stamp after you use it, because I dropped it in there. But that's okay. I'll just use the die and cut it out, and then I'll put it on a card. But you could see the difference. So this one I have, I kept it a lot more softer. So which one do you like the best? I don't know, you know, which one. I mean, they both are the same kind of watercolory. All right, so I'm going to put this in a frame, and then I'll show you the finished one once it's in the frame. I had 2 frames, so I ended up framing both of them, and I love how they turned out. I mean, it's the same thing, and then here's the other one. Let me turn out to get that reflection. But so what do you think? Which one? So what's nice is the frame has a mat, so it hides where I stamped that thing over. But so I love how they turned out. So I will be putting these in the house somewhere, maybe in the guest room. All right, let me say see you later, alligator. So yeah, you can see it a little bit better without the reflection. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So this is an awesome set to do that with. Even this one that I messed around with is even kind of cool. I might finish that one. It just has a totally different feel to it. Since I don't know the words for things, I can't tell what it is, but it looks weird. I'm sure somebody here will say, oh, that is blah, 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 and it'll be right. So, so let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to give this a try. Like I said, this Stippled Roses is an awesome set to try this out. Totally. And I love that splatter effect on there. It just looks so cool around it. So, hold on. And then this one, I splattered other colors. See that? I didn't just do the blue. I did some of the other colors as well. This one, I left a little bit more light here and there, like you can see in the leaves. So anyways, all right, so I will see you Friday for my Dies shorts. That will be 3 o'clock Arizona time, same channel. If there's ever anything you want me to show, let me know. Reach out to me. If you have any questions, give me a holler. All right, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I will see you Friday. All right, bye for now.